Today, let's talk about the idea of weighing God down. You'll see what I mean when I read to you from Amos chapter 2, verses 13 and 14, where we read this. Behold, I am weighed down by you, as a cart full of sheaves is weighed down. Therefore flight shall perish from the swift, the strong shall not strengthen his power, nor shall the mighty deliver himself. A common idea found in the Psalms is that we can and we should bless the Lord. Now, of course, we can't bless God in the sense that a greater bestows a blessing upon a lesser, because God is the greater and we are definitely the lesser. In that sense, He blesses us and we cannot bless Him. But the idea is in a different sense in the Psalms, the sense that we bless God by worshiping Him and pleasing Him. We bless Him by being a blessing unto Him with our worship, our words, and our life. It's a beautiful idea that we can bless God in this way. Now, I say that to say that you might say that the prophet Amos here gives the exact opposite idea. Instead of being a blessing to God, Amos spoke for the Lord and told God's people that they were a weight to Him. It's right there in Amos chapter 2, verse 13. I am weighed down by you, said the Lord. In the days of the prophet Amos, God regarded the people of Israel like a weary burden and not as a joy. It's like the difference between the pleasure a parent feels in dealing with an obedient child and the drudgery a parent feels in dealing with a stubborn, rebellious child. When we read a passage like this, it makes us understand that Amos spoke in figures of speech. Now, we can't say that men oppress God. We shouldn't think that God paces the throne room of heaven full of worry. In the words of Charles Spurgeon, we know that all the sin that man can commit can never disturb the serenity of God's perfections, nor cause so much as a wave upon the sea of His everlasting calm. Yet, we appreciate that Amos speaks to us in the manner of men, telling us that God can be so pressed by the sin of man, especially the sins of His people, that it is as if He were weighed down by them. And when we read this in its context, the first two chapters of the prophet Amos, then we understand some of the ways that people weigh God down today. Anytime that justice is perverted, anytime the rich receive preferential treatment or the poor are oppressed, it burdens the God who sees from heaven and promises to set it right. Anytime people cheat and manipulate and make money off of others in questionable ways, even if it happens to be legal, then it burdens the God in heaven who sees it and promises to set it right. Anytime people unfairly profit at the expense of the unfortunate, it burdens the God who sees from heaven, and He promises to set it right. Now, what will God do with this weight? He will eventually, after much patience and long-suffering, bring judgment against those who have weighed Him down. That's what Amos meant in verse 14. Flight shall perish from the swift, the strong shall not strengthen his power. One way the judgment of God would express itself against Israel was that they would find themselves unable to succeed in ways they previously thought they were strong. Without the blessing of God, the swift isn't fast enough, the strong isn't strong enough, and the mighty isn't mighty enough to succeed. Israel was far too confident in their own ability, but God would bring them low. We can escape this judgment by realizing now that even our strength is nothing without God. Paul communicated this idea in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12. Therefore let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. You see, we can become more vulnerable in our perceived strengths than in our acknowledged weaknesses, because we're on guard and tend to trust the Lord in our weaknesses. The better way is to never let it get to that place of judgment by never weighing God down in that figure of speech. Instead of pressing a burden on God by disobedience and mistreatment of others, why not be a blessing to him today? Love others and do it in the name of Jesus.